our first Italian world champion. Station Park is your 2014 Pokémon World Video Game Champion in the Masters Division. Wolf Flick gets to lift the first place trophy.
It's over. Shintaro is the 2016 Masters Division World Champion.
Look at that emotion. KO. Ryota Otsubo is your 2017 Masters.
ゲームリークの増田です。今回ポケットモンスターレッツゴーピカチュウレッツゴー EV のディレクターをしました。レッツゴーピカチュウレッツゴー EV ではその部分の要素、直感的に遊べる部分をより豊かな遊びに、体験型にして、より多くの人に遊んでもらいたいという思いで今回このゲームを作っています。スイッチは本体からジョイコンを取り外せるっていうことと、今回モンスターボールプラスっていうのを、作りましたけども、なんでそれを作ったかっていうと、やっぱり皆さんポケモントレーナーとしてやりたいこととしてやっぱりボール投げることだと思うんですよね。今回はジョイコンもしくはモンスターボールプラスを使ってボールを投げるアクションっていうのを皆さんに楽しんでもらいたいと。ポケモンってやっぱり育てていくことの楽しみっていうのがあると思うんですけども、ポケモンをたくさん捕まえることで、よりポケモンが育っていきます。でこの育てていく楽しみを、GO とはまた違った形で、体験してもらって、そしてその後にもちろん対戦交換してもらって、こうしてもともとあるそのポケモンの本編の楽しさっていうのを、より多くの今までのずっとポケモンを愛してくれているファンの皆様にも楽しめるように作っています。ぜひ遊んでみてください。来週末シアトルで開催されるパックスプライムというイベントにこの体験版が皆さんプレイできると思うんで、ぜひそこでも遊んでもらえればと思いますし、この後世界中のいろんなところで体験できるようにしていきたいと思ってますので、ぜひ皆さんモンスターボールプラス持って実際にポケモンを捕まえるところを体験して、このレッツゴーピカチュウレッツゴー EV の楽しみ方っていうのをみんなでいろいろ話し合いながらより多くの人と楽しんでもらえばと思ってます。
Hello trainers and welcome back to the Pokemon 2018 World Championships. We are about to bring you the Junior Division Video Game Championship Series Finals. It may not be a trading card game anymore, but I am back with my Tag Team GX partner Gabby Snyder, and we are ready to be able to bring you some amazing VGC action.
Yes, it has been a long weekend here in Nashville, Tennessee, but we have finally arrived at Championship Sunday. There are only 2 trainers left in each age division who are going to be duking it out for this year's title of Video Game World Champion. And I'm so incredibly honored that we get to bring you the juniors battle coming up first.
There are going to be 3 new world champions crowned across the juniors, seniors, and masters division. We've had such an incredible weekend of Pokemon action, 3 days of fierce competition for those masters division players. And you can see the schedule that players had to go through on your screens right now. Friday, we had a really grueling day of Day 1 Swiss. Players who had gained their Day 1 invitation to the World Championships had to play out for the honor of being able to play through into Day 2. And again, another set of Swiss rounds before going into that single elimination, excitement building time.
Yeah, so last night we brought you the top cut of the Masters division, which was so exciting. I don't know about you, but I lost it when we saw that competitive Gothitelle do its work.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was just so incredible. So if you missed it, if you're just tuning in for the first time, definitely take the opportunity, once we're done here, of course, to look back on those incredible matches and, you know, maybe watch some of your new upcoming favorites as well. Again, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, those top 8 matches, all the way down to our 2 finalists in the Master Division, were incredibly exciting, but that does not take away from what we will be bringing you very shortly. But first, another quick look back. We want to show you a little bit about last year's champion, Nicholas Khan.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Khan from Australia, and I'm the Pokemon World Champion in 2017 for the Junior Division. I got into Pokemon after my brother won the Pokemon World Championships for TCG in 2011. I just like the excitement of the game, and it requires a lot of skill, which I quite like. Winning the World Championships felt really good because I wasn't too sure if I was going to win. So, like, all the hard work I had put into it paid off, so I was really happy. I started to realize that I actually had what it takes to, I guess, become world champion. Last year, my brother used the same team to win the North American International Championships. So, before Worlds, I reviewed his games and adapted to the matchups fully and mastered the team. I like to make predictions and try and just get the edge over my opponent and stay, like, ahead of them in the game while applying constant pressure. So, if you want to get into the game, you need to, like, practice a lot and try and hit up as many events as possible, and don't feel down if you don't do well at your first event. You need to keep going and try and achieve success. I do feel prepared, ready to go. I've done my practice needed for the event, and so I'm feeling pretty good. So all the Australians watching this, keep going, and we need to try and win the World Championships soon and finally close out and get a win in each division.
Inspiring words from such a worthy winner, Nicholas Khan of Australia there. And he was last year's world champion and a deserving winner. But this year, we have the opportunity to crown one of the next 2 trainers with the new World Championship title.
Yeah, and let's meet those trainers now. Anna is on stage, ready to introduce him. Take it away.
Thanks, guys, and welcome to the main stage. We have a fine-looking audience here. They're ready for the Pokemon video game Juniors Finals. And I know they are going to give a warm welcome to our 2 competitors. Get yourselves ready to cheer first. From Japan, it's Won Lee! And also from Japan, let's hear it for Sota Tamemasa! Can't wait to watch you guys play, so please shake hands and take your seats. Good luck. Go ahead on. Good job. Guys, I can't wait to watch these 2 play. What about you?
I can't wait either, Anna. Thank you so much for that incredible introduction. Juan and Sota are getting ready to battle, and it looks like they brought some of their favorite Pokemon with them to cheer them on.
These absolute rock stars ready to take on Music City and take a world championship. The band's all here, Stakataka and Snorlax sitting on stage with them. I'm so excited to be able to bring Junior Finals to you guys very, very shortly. 2 players from Japan duking it out to take that title.
Yeah, both these trainers are no stranger to the larger stage here. Won Lee, a finalist at the Japan Championships in 2017 and in 2018, actually beat out Sota in the top 4.
Really, really great resume there. But I think what you guys might not be able to hear at home too much is the crowd are going wild for that team. Terrakion, Whimsicott, Gengar, Tapu Bulu, Kumoho, and Snorlax. Incredible, incredible team.
Without a doubt. I think some favorites that we've seen do well throughout the entire year on his team, and I'm incredibly excited to see how he's going to pilot it. His opponent, Sota, also no stranger to the larger stage. Top 4 at the Japan Championships this year, 19th in the 27 Japan Championships, and look at that team.
I think we might have a slight idea on what Sota wants to do. 3 Trick Room setters on his team: Oranguru, Snorlax, Dusclops, Mawile, Pelipper, and Mimikyu. Really, really interesting and strong strategy. One thing to mention for both these players here is that they both like Snorlax.
They both really like Snorlax, and you know, it's great to see two Snorlaxes, it looks like, a little one and a big one there, cheering their trainers on. I'm so excited to see how this matchup's going to play out, because you know, if you look at Sota's team, like you mentioned, he has 3 Trick Room setters. I think if he wants to get Trick Room up on the field and he wants to give his Snorlax an opportunity to go for something like that belly drum strategy we've seen do well in the Masters division, I think there's going to be really no way to stop him. He probably has a Trick Room for every possible situation.
Too many tricks up his sleeves, and we are just about to kick it into team preview for you guys. Won Lee of Japan against Sota Tamamasa of Japan. On Sota's team, we're going to be seeing Oranguru, Snorlax, Dusclops, Mawile, Pelipper, and Mimikyu. 3 Trick Room setters, and if he can get that Trick Room up, it's going to be super, super dangerous for Juan. Terrakion, Whimsicott, Gengar, Tapu Bulu, Komodo, and Snorlax. Is there a way that you can see that Juan can stop this Trick Room strategy, Gabby?
I think Juan's just going to have to go for pure power to try and stop the Trick Room. I mean, looking at his team, you know, there's really nothing that can learn Taunt. I mean, occasionally, Whimsicott can also learn Trick Room, but, you know, there's really only so much he can do. So if he has something like that tech available to him, I think he's going to have to lead it. Otherwise, you know, I might be a little bit biased here, but I remember the Whimsicott Terrakion strategy of days of yore, and I would love to see that here. Just get that Terrakion powered up as much as possible thanks to its justified ability and Whimsicott's beat-up move, and hope that, you know, an attack of any kind will be enough to simply knock out whatever Trick Room setter Sota decides to bring.
Yeah, with the advent of Z moves, Terrakion gains a really, really powerful attack. Doesn't have to rely on the spread damage of Rock Slide. Guys, we are here. The Pokemon World Championships Junior Division Final is about to begin. Let us know who you're rooting for using the hashtag #PlayPokemon. The crowd are going wild. Snorlaxes everywhere. Won Lee against Sota Tamamasa. Team preview is ended. We are going into round 1. We'll see the first leads coming out. It will be Terrakion and Whimsicott coming out for Won Lee. Sota Tamamasa responding here. He's going to be leading with Snorlax and Mimikyu. Great combination from both of these trainers.
2 pairs that we have seen next to each other in many times, maybe not necessarily in this format, but that Mimikyu carries with it the disguise ability, so it will have to be hit at least twice by an attack before it can take damage. Because of that, Whimsicott's only option to stop it is going to be something like a taunt, but instead it's going for the beat up into the Mimikyu.
That's not going to activate any justified ability, but it will break the disguise on Mimikyu and do some good damage here. So the disguise is broken. Terrakion moving quickly. This is a Z move. We are going to see on the first turn, Terrakion activating the Rockium Z. Continental Thrust. You imagine, Gabby, Mimikyu is going to feel the full force of this Z move.
Without a doubt, Won Lee not even relying on Justified just yet, instead deciding to get the Trick Room off the field. Maybe going to try and boost up that Terrakion later if he even needs it. I mean, look at this huge boulder crashing into that Mimikyu. It's gonna be a one-hit knockout.
Mimikyu going down on the first turn. One of the Trick Room options denied for Sota here. A belly drum coming out for Snorlax, so massive amount of power being given to this Snorlax. It loses half its HP, regains half of it due to its berry. I believe that's going to be the Aguav berry being activated on that Snorlax. But Terrakion in a position now, the fighting type damage is going to be massive going into that Snorlax.
And what a brave move for that Snorlax as well. Whimsicott also known to carry Encore. I mean, if Juan wants to, he can lock that Snorlax into something like that belly drum and leave it up to that Mawile that just took the field to sort of stop this Whimsicott. I mean, that's why Whimsicott is so scary. You just don't really know what it does until it's already done it and you're stuck adjusting.
With 3 Pokemon on his team knowing Trick Room, it looks like Whimsicott in the position to get all the tricks out the bag in this turn. Whimsicott and Terrakion again, that justified beat-up combination so potent. Encore threat really, really big here. Morwile does have the type advantage going up against Terrakion and Whimsicott. It will be going for a Mega Evolution, trading its Intimidate ability, going to get some huge power on the field alongside that Snorlax too.
Yeah, but it's really up to Juan here. He needs to decide what he wants to remove from the field, but instead that Terrakion just going for a protect, no damage from it this turn.
Looks like we're going to be seeing the Encore going into that Snorlax. It is locked into Belly Drum once again. So really great turn here from Juan. The attack going into that Terrakion once again as well. And Snorlax locked into Belly Drum, it fails.
It does fail, and that Snorlax is going to have to switch out if it wants to do anything for the next few turns. Morwile, good attempt there, I think, to remove that Terrakion from the field. It definitely is the greater threat in terms of damage output, but, you know, Soda's going to have to try and pick up a couple knockouts here to even the score. Otherwise, Whimsicott, really unthreatened by anything on the field right now, can simply go for that beat up, and Terrakion can just start, honestly, even using something like Rock Slide. Even if it misses at this point, you know, Juan's bought himself a little bit of time. He can afford that.
It's interesting to see what coverage move Terrakion might run. It could run something like Stomping Tantrum to do damage against that Morwile. We see Pelipper coming in for the Snorlax. So Snorlax losing its Belly Drum boost, but more importantly, freed from the Encore as the Drizzle is set up by Pelipper. We're going to see Whimsicott moving quickly now. It's going to go for the beat up. Terrakion is going to be taking some damage, but at raising its physical attack stat each time it gets hit. Beat up obviously hitting for each member of your party that is still healthy.
Yeah, so that Snorlax is now going to be at +3 attack. Remember, it did get intimidated when that Morwile first switched in.
Yeah, this is such a dangerous combination. So much pressure coming out from one side of the field. It hits 4 times due to all the Pokemon in its party. Close combat into the Morwile, and it goes down!
That's insane. I mean, close combat, it's a fighting type move, so because of Morwile's Steel Fairy typing, it does neutral damage, but, you know, Morwile, not the bulkiest Pokemon. Terrakion probably really only needed to negate the Intimidate and get maybe 1 boost on top of that for that knockout. I cannot imagine how afraid this Snorlax is taking the field right now. If that Pelipper has no way to stop the Terrakion from attacking or knocking it out or really anything, it's going to be game over for Soda in this game 1.
Yeah, really huge lead advantage for Juan here, but Sota not out of it just yet. There is obviously game 2, game 3. That obviously the chance to adjust going into those games as well. A lot of information gained here about that lead of Whimsicott and Terrakion, knowing that Trick Room wasn't as safe as Sota thought it could be, and taking this time to think about what the turn that he wants to go into here. Whimsicott proving so dangerous alongside that Terrakion with the massive amount of attack boosting that we can see here. It's going to be up into the Pelipper, breaking any potential focus sashes here. Really smart play. Terrakion, obviously the next Pokemon to move. It's going to be a Rock Slide going into the Pelipper. That's a knockout. Snorlax taking a huge amount of damage. It's already lost its Agua Berry due to eating it earlier, and now unable to heal itself. Snorlax will be attacking this turn.
No, it won't.
Ooh.
That Snorlax was unable to do anything that turn. It looks like it flinched.
Unfortunate turn for Sota there. Juan, again, the pressure coming out from these 2 Pokemon proving too much for Sota to handle in this first game. Snorlax, the final Pokemon. Terrakion should be able to clean this up easily. And we see there the Encore coming out from Whimsicott, just locking into Snorlax there as Terrakion goes for the close combat. Rounding out game 1, Juan lead, 1-0 in this set. And what an incredible game. You can see the building blocks of his strategy there. His coach stack attacker must have really, really helped.
Oh, without a doubt. Terrakion and Whimsicott just showing just how terrifying they are. But Soda, he does have options to adjust. As we mentioned during team preview, he has 3 different Trick Room setters. You know, I think he might have picked the Mimikyu because he was worried about maybe getting taunted or otherwise having the Trick Room negated in that form. But instead, you know, Juan made the right call. He broke the disguise. He knocked out that Mimikyu and just really set himself up for an advantage. So,
I love that play. That play was incredible.
It was such a good play. So I think Soda just needs to pick a different Trick Room setter. You know, he also has potentially the Oranguru and the Dusclops available to him. You know, I'm not really sure which one of these Pokemon would be the best choice. It really depends on what other moves they have on them and what kind of strategy Sota wants to use beyond just getting the Trick Room up. But if he really is that worried about something like a taunt, which is probably why he brought the Mimikyu, maybe just must bring something that's bulky enough to survive the Continental Crush, and we didn't see the taunt the first time. Maybe we won't see it a second time.
Yeah, that combination of beat up and justified gonna put so much offensive pressure, allowing One to be able to make plays, not even have to use defensive moves like taunt. We haven't seen it on the Whimsicott. Maybe it's not running it at all, maybe it is, and maybe One just wants to save it for later on, making sure that he can find the options and see where the Pokemon holding the Mental Herb could be. Mimikyu, obviously, we just saw the disguise. We didn't see any items or anything. Dusclop's usually a Pokemon that likes to carry the Eviolite item, which would boost its defenses because it can still evolve one stage further. Oranguru has options to it as well. People like to run berries on it, Mental Herbs sometimes even the Psychium Z to be able to avoid taunts and get Trick Room up. But guys, we see the handshake. We're going into Game 2. One lead, one game away from being the new Junior Division World Champion. Sota Tamemasa has to be able to answer in this game. Gabby, I'm so excited to see what's going to happen now.
I am so excited as well. You also have to remember, we didn't see Wan Lee's other Pokemon in that game. We only saw that Whimsicott and Terrakion, and it looks like we're going to be seeing them again from Wan, but relying on that same lead. Such incredible power. It's going to be a tough ask for Sota's Mimikyu and Snorlax to answer it.
Same leads from both these trainers here, confident that maybe things could have gone slightly different had things worked out for them in that previous game. Sota, with that Mimikyu Snorlax combination we've seen so often in the Masters Division, a very, very mature combination of Pokemon for him to bring here, but he does need to really worry about that Mimikyu Snorlax combination, the Whimsicott Terrakion combination, as we saw last time. That beat up and the Rockium Z combination is so destructive to any Trick Room strategy here.
Yeah, Wan can easily just do that move again, and I think it would be a very safe play for him. I mean, the Snorlax went for the belly drum immediately, which to me implies that it needs that, but instead, Wan Lee going straight on his own offensive.
Yeah, here comes that beat up one more time. No Intimidate on this Terrakion, so it will be at 4 stages of increased physical attack, and it's going to be disastrous here. Mimikyu's disguise is obviously still intact, so you imagine an attack isn't going into that slot. Maybe just going straight for the Snorlax this time around. We see that Terrakion will be moving now. Close combat into the Snorlax, and that is a one-hit knockout. You don't see that often on the Snorlax, but Terrakion is an absolute beast here.
It is, but Mimikyu is going to be free to set up Trick Room, so Sota at least has the opportunity to attack before the Terrakion next turn. That being said, probably going to be forced to switch out that Mimikyu. Whimsicott's Prankster and the Encore combination means it will still be moving first in this turn, and he just cannot afford to get locked into Trick Room again, or really locked into any move that doesn't deal damage. He needs to make up for the fact that one of his heavy hitters just got knocked out.
Yeah, this is a dangerous position for One, with Moa coming in and taking Terrakion's attack down by 1 stage. Still at plus 3 stages of attack, which, oh, that's a lot of attack still, but Moa will be moving first. Iron Head, Playrough are really, really dangerous combinations of attacks going into that Terrakion slot. It's a really big offensive turn for Moal here, as Mimikyu switches out, doesn't want to be on the field and take an Encore onto that Trick Room slot. Pelipper will be coming in now, setting up the rain once again. Not too much of a problem for either of the Pokemon on the other side of the field, because no Fire-type damage being dealt by either of them, as Moal will once again trade his Intimidate ability for that huge power. Terrakion must feel so threatened.
It does, but you have to wonder, will this Moal be able to knock it out? Instead, that Terrakion just gonna go for a Protect.
Safe play here from One, and we see that the Whimsicott went for the Encore there. Moa attacking into that Terrakion slot, so bit of a dead turn, no real damage dealt, but the threat of that Iron Head or Play Rough from Moa is so real.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for Sota right now is the fact that the Whimsicott cannot Encore the Mawile or the Pelipper into anything disadvantageous. So it might just want to leave the field. I like the switch here to protect the Terrakion instead. And Gengar, certainly an interesting choice to send it on the field right now.
And Fake Tears coming out from this Whimsicott that will drastically reduce by 2 stages the special defense of Mawile.
Oh, that's a one-hit knockout too!
Mawile showing that it's no slouch in the attacking department either, as Pelipper gets an attack off a Hurricane into the Whimsicott. That's leaving it 1 HP. Focus Sash revealed onto that Whimsicott, so it's able to stick around for one more turn. And Mawile finally claiming the knockout. We saw the first switch out from One in this game, and it cost him a Pokemon.
Yeah, but what can one more Fake Tears do when your only other revealed Pokemon is a Terrakion? You have to think that One has another special attacker in the back of his party, possibly, to sort of help him out and make make that useful. It seems strange to me that he would just make that switch, use the fake tears, and you know, just otherwise throw away that turn. Even a little bit of a beat up onto that Pelipper might have been useful because we still don't know what it's holding.
Yeah, interesting turn from Juan there, possibly just getting a little ahead of himself, a little excited at the opportunity to be able to launch some powerful special attacks at that Moal. Terrakion coming back in, but we are still under Trick Room conditions. The slowest Pokemon will be moving first. Terrakion in a position to protect itself again, wasting another turn of Trick Room, allowing Moal not to be able to attack. Pelipper should be able to pick up a knockout onto that Whimsicott once again as well. And then it's going to be Juan on the back foot with only 2 Pokemon left. We'll have to see if he's able to do anything about that and be able to adjust.
I don't know. I mean, there are 2 turns of Trick Room left, so if Terrakion gets lucky maybe with a double protect, that could give Juan the advantage, and that might be one of his only outs. It's really going to depend on what that last Pokemon he brought to this game is.
There goes the protect. Terrakion obviously feeling the pressure of the huge power from Moal. Moal will launch an attack into that Terrakion. It is public enemy #1. And another Hurricane coming out from Pelipper. Whimsicott goes down. So that is 2 Pokemon lost for Juan. Sota taking a massive advantage in this game. And it's a complete turnaround from the first game, Gabby.
It is, but he's going to have to use this last turn of Trick Room as effectively as possible. It's actually going to be the Tapu Bulu coming out on one side of the field. Tapu Bulu, a grass fairy-type Pokemon, bringing with it the grassy terrain. Maybe something like a Woodhammer here would be enough to knock out that Mawile in one hit. But, you know, the Pelipper is going to be locked into Hurricane, so I don't know how these Pokemon are going to interact under Trick Room. It depends on how they've been trained.
Yeah, Pelipper usually a little bit slower, so it should be able to underspeed that Tapu Bulu depending on how it's been trained. Obviously, Terrakion is the fastest Pokemon on the field. It needs a double protect here. Doesn't go for it. Instead, the Iron Head will knock out the Terrakion. 3 Pokemon going down under Trick Room for Juan Lee. Pelipper, it looks like it's moving first here. That's a Hurricane going into the Tapu Bulu. Another one-hit knockout. We are going to Game 3 in the Junior Division Final at the Pokemon 2018 World Championships.
Even though Sota lost his favorite Pokemon, that Snorlax, he was able to get the Trick Room up and just did an incredible job there of putting on the pressure. That Mawile, that Pelipper did so much damage. Everything, I think, in that turn, or in that entire game was a one-hit knockout.
You can see from Game 1 and Game 2 how both of these trainers have made their way into the finals. Such strong strategies being displayed by both of them, with Trick Room being able to be brought up by Sota. It just showed the power of Mega Mawile under that Trick Room. Pelipper, a very nice support option for it too, defensively stopping any fire-type attacks from doing too much damage to the Mawile, but more importantly, that flying-type damage going into most of Juan's team. Really, really dangerous here.
Oh, without a doubt. And that really puts up a big question for Juan. You know, how does he think that Sota's going to go for the Trick Room going into Game 3? Because you know he needs it. It was just so incredibly powerful throughout that entirety of Game 2. You know, does he bring the Mimikyu again? Does he mix it up? You know, I think Sota's probably the most comfortable with the Mimikyu-Snorlax combination, which is why we saw it in both games. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again, but then there's going to be a huge guessing game. Do I go for the Z move again, like in Game 1? Or do I try and take things a little bit slower, like in Game 2?
If I was Juan, I would probably be leaning more towards that Game 1 option. It proved to work so well for him. Sota didn't really have an answer. But guys, we're going to have to see this answer. We're going into Game 3. Let us know who you're rooting for using the hashtag #PlayPokemon. Give it up for both of these rockstar trainers. We are in Music City, and we're about to crown a new world champion in the junior division.
Will it be Juan Lee? Will it be Sota Tamimasa? I don't know. We're going to find out real soon as their Pokemon make an appearance. It's going to be that Mimikyu and Snorlax combination once again from Sota's side of the field, and the Terrakion and the Whimsicott again from Juan Lee. This is the 3rd time they've led this lead, and honestly, the mind games going on right now must be incredible.
My mind is boggling at this turn. We've seen these Pokemon do several different things each game. What's it going to be this time? Both of these trainers have the opportunity to claim the World Championship at this stage. We see the beat up into the Mimikyu. This looks like it could be a repeat of Game 1. Mimikyu's disguise being busted. Unfortunately for it, it's going to be taking some damage as well here, but most importantly, the disguise is gone. Rocky and Z, Terrakion will be going for the Continental Crush, and Gabby, if this is going into the Mimikyu, it looks like it could be curtains for a Trick Room strategy.
Knowing that Terrakion, knowing that it has close combat, there is no doubt in my mind that this is going to be targeting down that Mimikyu. Wan Li needs this knockout. He needs to prevent Trick Room from getting up, and if there's any way to do that, it's just the attack onto that Mimikyu and just absolutely shutting it down.
One hit KO once again. Mimikyu going down. Snorlax going for the belly drum once again. This could be a repeat of game one. One must be very, very excited to see this play coming out once again. Again, Snorlax's HP going down to 50%. It's maximized its attack stat. The Agua Fairy will boost it back up to full HP. But now Whimsicott looking at Snorlax and thinking, how about I give you a little encore for your trouble?
Unless Sota's made another adjustment, it looks like the Mawile's still here, so it's very possible that he still has that Pelipper in back as well. You know, maybe Sota decides to give up the belly drum here. You can't let your Snorlax get locked into Encore because then it's just not going to do anything for the rest of the game. That Pelipper, it is a part flying type. We know that there's only going to be so much damage that close combat can do, but who knows, even after a beat up boost, it might not be able to hold on. There's just so many cards on the table. This Terrakion and Whimsicott are insanely powerful.
It's so difficult for Sota as well. If he changes the attacking option from Mawile and goes into that Whimsicott, the Focus Sash will activate and it will still be around with 1 HP. Nothing really stopping this Encore play from Whimsicott, especially with no switch out here. Mawile getting its huge power once again. The bond with its trainer activating Mega Evolution, and we see Whimsicott. Oh, sorry, Terrakion will protect itself. This is the same play that One made in that previous turn. Whimsicott, now for the Encore. Snorlax has been locked into Belly Drum once again. Unfortunately for it, it will not be able to make the use of that Belly Drum. And we see the attack going into the Terrakion. It is obviously such a huge threat, Gabby. Snorlax still locked into that Belly Drum, unable to use any of its attacks. And now we are in a dangerous, dangerous position if your name is Sota Tamamasa.
Maybe Sota kept the Snorlax on the field just to see if that's something that Wan Li would still go to. He still has that final Pokemon in the back, and he can still make that switch to save the Snorlax for later. I think this Mawile, though, is probably going to be the Pokemon that Wan is going to want to target down as a response, you know? It's really the only thing on the field that can attack right now, and if Wan Li is able to remove that, he's only 2 Pokemon away from becoming this year's world champion.
I can see a beat-up and a close combat on the cards here for Wan. And you can imagine he can feel that World Championships coming closer and closer to his side of the table. Whimsicott will be going for the beat-up here. We've seen it before. 4 Pokemon remaining in Wan's party. That'll be 4 strikes of beat-up and 4 stages of increased attack for Terrakion. Obviously, the Intimidate was used before by that Mawile on the switch-in, so it'll be only 3 stages of increased attack, but that should be more than enough, as we've seen, to knock out this Mega Mawile if there's no Protect, and there wasn't.
There wasn't, because they've already started attacking, which means this Terrakion's going to be moving next. It looks like close combat into that Mawile. Again, 1-hit knockout.
Huge knockout there. Momentum swing very, very much into the Whimsicott Terrakion corner for Wan Li. Snorlax remains in this time, though. Again, locked into that belly drum. Sota down to his final 2 Pokemon here. You have to see which Pokemon it will be. It might be that Pelipper once again. There it comes. Pelipper coming in. Unfortunately for it, it is on the slower side of the table now because Trick Room is not up. Terrakion and Whimsicott so dangerous, so quick, so powerful. And it looks like Wan might be able to go for that beat-up rock slide play once again. Snorlax still locked into belly drum. Wan can almost grasp this World Championship title.
Without a doubt. I mean, he does have to be a little bit careful about the fact that Rock Slide can miss. So if he's a little bit worried about that, might be worthwhile to target down something else. But right now, going straight for the beat-up.
The beat-up going into that Pelipper, breaking any potential Focus Sash into that slot. Terrakion gets the Rock Slide on both of these opposing Pokemon. Pelipper goes down. Snorlax staying around the 1/3 of his HP mark, but with all of Wan's Pokemon still remaining, you can see it on Sota's face there. A little shock that this situation has gone so south for him, but incredible play from both of these young trainers.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, Sota's team shows so much creativity, just so many different ways he can play it. It's just unfortunate that he really needed that Trick Room, and Wan Li was able to predict that perfectly.
Well, we see the Protect coming out from Snorlax here, not taking any damage this turn, but that is another target for Encore from Whimsicott. Terrakion free just to attack into that slot as well. So if Whimsicott goes for the Encore, there's a chance that it could get a double Protect, but it looks like the writing could be on the wall. Yeah,
we would have to stall this game out for a bit because Whimsicott probably still has plenty of PP left for that Encore. So instead just going straight for the beat up. As long as Terrakion's able to land an attack here, Wan Li will be your world champion. It connects!
And Wan Li is your new Junior Division 2018 World Champion. Incredible performance. by him. What a devastating combination Whimsicott and Terrakion has proven to be. Sota Tamemasa so close, but he is a finalist to be proud of as well.
Without a doubt. Again, going back into his team, I mean, it's so cool how he was able to almost acknowledge and respect the fact that he needed that trick room so badly and bring so many different ways to set it. You know, I think this Mimikyu probably might have been a little bit of a sentimental pick, or I think honestly it had the best type matchup against the Pokemon that Wanli had. It just wasn't able to quite do the things that Sota wanted it to do, but that's okay. We saw in game 2 just how scary it can be when all those cards line up right.
I can definitely imagine myself bringing Mimikyu in a situation like that. I think I've got a pin on my lapel which has a little Mimikyu on it as well. But congratulations to Wanli, a deserving winner. Smiles all around from both of these young Rockstar trainers. Everyone in the hall, please give it up for both of these young competitors. I know you guys at home must have enjoyed that match. What an exciting show, and the future is so bright for these trainers from Japan.
Without a doubt. You know, to talk about Wanli's team a little bit more, you know, he has so many different ways he can play it, and I think that's sort of a complexity that you don't really see in the juniors division before you get to this world stage. You know, he has the Mega Gengar that we probably didn't see. He has that Komao. He even has his own Snorlax, but all he needed was the Whimsicott and the Terrakion, and they were very terrifying indeed.
Yeah, an incredible combination from those two Pokemon. And I think, Gabby, one of the most important things to take away from this juniors final is these players will be able to age up into the seniors and masters division, taking with them all the skills they've learned in the junior division, taking through all the enthusiasm and joy for the game, and taking it to all new heights throughout the entirety of their Pokemon careers. And I'm so excited that we're able to show you some of these junior games. They are some of my favorites to watch and cast because they're always so exciting.
They're always having fun. I mean, I think it's very easy, at least for myself, to get so wrapped up in the game, you sometimes forget. But, you know, to see these trainers smiling at the end, you know, hugging their friends, having a great time is always the best feeling.
Yeah, it puts a smile on my face. And that's going to be it for myself and Gabby. We're going to let you hear from your new world champion. Anna, please take it away.
Thanks, guys. I am here on the stage with your champion, Wanli. Wanli, did you think that you would be able to become the champion?
優勝者になると思ってた。もともとから。
あんまり思ってなかったです。
I didn't really think I would, actually.
But now you've done it. How do you think you did it? What was so great about your team and your play?
なんか自分のプレーのうまいことでなんか優勝できたんだけど、なんか特になんか印象的なのがあった。
カビゴンが原太鼓を打って、その後守るをしなかった時から優勝を確信しました。
He said that Snorlax used belly drum, and then because there was no protect, he was able to clinch the championship.
A lot of people will be watching and want to play just like you. What advice do you have for them to become such a good trainer?
なんか大勢の人が見てて、なんかウォンさんのプレーを見て、なんかウォンさんのような選手になりたい人が多いかもしれない。なんかアドバイスありますか？
ポケモンを世界一好きになることです。
Really to love the world of Pokemon.
That's good advice. There's tons of people cheering for you and supporting you. Is there anyone you want to say hi to or thank you?
なんか特に誰かにメッセージを送りたい人はいる？
応援してくださった皆様ありがとうございました。
I wanna thank everyone who supported me.
Well, we thank you for showing us a great game and congratulations once again.
ありがとうございます。なんかすごい素晴らしいプレーやった。
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations one more time for your champion. And don't go anywhere because when we return on this stage will be the Seniors Championships of the Pokemon video game. See you soon.
nowhere. I am completely...
Amati is our first Italian world champion. Station Park is your 2014 Pokémon World Video Game Champion in the Masters Division.
Wolf Flick gets to lift the first place trophy.
It's over. Shintaro is the 2016 Masters Division World Champion.
Look at that emotion.
KO. Ryota Otsubo is your 2017 Masters.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 Pokemon World Championships here in the beautiful city of Nashville, Tennessee. We have already crowned, one world champion in the junior division. Of course, there's also the 3 TCG world champions as well, and the 2 Pokémon Tournament DX world champions. And now we are ready to crown the senior division VGC world champ. My name is Dweehad. Joining me at the desk right now, of course, the ever so lovely Adam Doricott.
You're so kind, Dwee. Yeah, of course, there are only 2 more champions to crown here in Music City. And the seniors division coming up next has as much promise as the previous divisions have had. All good games. I think the juniors division was pretty exciting. I enjoyed that. But the seniors certainly aren't going to let us down either.
Yeah, I mean, the junior division was pretty close. I mean, games 1 and 2 kind of went back and forth, and then game 3, Wan Lee just kind of took control of that, you know. But both players are still invited back to the World Championships, and I'm excited to see more from them in the future. But again, speaking of looking towards the future, you know, after the juniors division comes the seniors division, players that are a bit too old for the junior division and too young to compete with the Masters. Although that is debatable, I think that some of these seniors players are better than some Masters players.
Yeah, there's definitely been some seniors players that really don't struggle when they end up facing off against the Master. When they age up into the Masters division, they transition just fine. I'm pretty sure that that division is sometimes underrated, but they always put on a good show.
Yep, and of course, let's take it down to the stage with Anna to introduce our 2 senior division finalists.
Thanks, guys. I am down here with a fine-looking audience. They are so excited, and I am as well, for these finals in the senior division of the Pokemon video game. Now get ready to put your hands together for our players. From the U.S., James Evans. And from the Netherlands, Bram de Jonge. This is going to be a great match. Please shake hands or hug. That's even better. Go ahead and take your seats. This is going to be full of love and action, casters. What do you think?
This is going to be an exciting matchup between 2 of the best players in the world. James Evans has so many accomplishments under his belt, and across the stage from him is actually his own friend, Brum. So this is going to be an exciting matchup.
Yeah, there's definitely no secrets, I think, coming up in team preview of either of these players. Well known to each other, they know pretty well about each other's teams. They talk a lot, they team build together, and I think that's going to make for an even better match when it comes down to it. They're going to have to play a few mind games, they're going to have to try and think even harder about what the other one knows or how they usually play, and that should turn into a really good game.
And here are James's accomplishments, so many accomplishments to list. North American International Top 4, Oceania International Top 8, won the European International Championship, as well as having a couple of regional championships under his belt, piloting that team of Incineroar, Gardevoir, Tapu Koko, Landers, Therian, Porygon 2, and Arachnid. James, you know, he was one of the championship point leaders throughout the entire season in the global rankings. And, well, I mean, I talked to him a little bit before the tournament last year. He didn't have a great finish at the World Championships, but here he is right now in the finals. Interesting thing to note, his favorite Pokemon is a Alolan Persian, and he is carrying that plush for good luck right now.
Yeah, James definitely looking to round out that season in a similar fashion to how it started back in London, taking a win there. Of course, it's not going to be made too easy for him his opponent Brum isn't going to let that happen with ease. A really exciting team there. Bishop, Blaziken, Tapu Bulu, Amoonguss, Mimikyu, and Snorlax. And, you know, it's not been a bad season for Brum either. A good smattering of wins there. A nice win in the regional championships in Malmo. A good performance in the Europe Internationals. Another good performance in a regional. Last year, you know, he was still putting up the numbers as well.
This is his first World Championship, so, you know, to make it to the finals here of your first ever World Championships is nothing to scoff at. I talked to him a little bit earlier before as well. You know, he is from the Netherlands. The scene up there, not quite as big as, you know, the United States scene, so it's nice to see a representative from the Netherlands here. His favorite Pokemon is Flygon, and the only thing he had to tell me was that Snorlax actually has self-destruct, so this Snorlax might go boom.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting to see just how much that Snorlax can do if it does press the self-destruct button and see if it can get really big damage down against James. Of course, both these teams have a very obvious element to them. They do contain a number of those Trick Room Pokemon, those Pokemon that not only set the Trick Room, but flourish under those conditions. I think that's going to be the style of play we're going to see from the pair of them as they go into this. And when you're both playing the same style, it's the execution that really matters, and if you have a certain tool that gives you an advantage there.
Yep, and of course, you know, we talked a little bit about James' team. Very standard team over there, over on Brum's side, you know, using a couple of interesting tech Pokemon. Blaziken actually made quite the splash at day one of the World Championships, almost cut the Masters Division, and here it is now in the Seniors Finals, rounded off with Bisharp, Tapu Bulu, Amoonguss, Mimikyu, and that self-destructing Snorlax.
Yeah, I think that Blaziken could be a little bit hard to try and weave in here, especially when you look at James's team, of course, the Porygon 2. You would like to do good damage to it, but of course, you know, if you're not able to do enough to stop it setting up Trick Room, then you're going to be in trouble. If you're in Trick Room and you're speed boosting, that's the complete opposite of what you want to happen in that situation. So could potentially limit Brum's selection a little bit here at Team Preview, but if he can find an opening for it, if he has the reliable ways to shut down Trick Room, maybe scaring it off with something like the Amoonguss, he'll be in a really good position to capitalize on such an offensive Pokemon.
And here we go now. Both players are getting ready to get underway. Give it up for both of these players right now. They are here in the finals, just one win away from becoming a world champion. Looks like both players now are getting ready to send out their Pokemon. The leads that James decides to go with is going to be Tapu Koko and Gardevoir, a Pokemon that made somewhat of a splash in the 2015 World Championships. And it looks like over on Brum's side, no surprises here, Blaziken and Bisharp.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really solid lead, I think.
What is Gardevoir actually going to trace here?
Yeah, that's going to be exciting to see. Gardevoir's trace will grab Defiant. Doesn't look like he's going to have any opportunity to activate it, though, because there's no Intimidators available, and it wouldn't matter anyway. You don't really want to boost your physical attack as a Gardevoir. I really do like this lead from Brum, though, and even though Blaziken look like a little bit of an ask to bring in, it could be in a solid position right now to try and help out, especially applying pressure if the Gardevoir isn't able to stay around. We're not going to see any switches, though. Both players confident their leads are correct.
Blaziken is going to Mega Evolve here, going to get a good stat boost right there from Mega Evolving, as Gardevoir is going to follow suit as well. And Mega Evolve getting that really strong pixelate ability. I think it would have been dangerous if Gardevoir actually traced that speed boost, maybe get a couple of speed boosts to keep up with that Mega Blaziken. Bisharp protects here. James is reacting to that right here, excited about seeing that protect, and it looks like it's going to be Tapu Koko going for a Gigavolt Havoc right now. Going to try to lay down some massive damage in that electric terrain.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the terrain up. You're moving first because Blaziken hasn't managed to speed boost yet, so you're definitely the fastest Pokemon on the field. You've not been caught by any sucker punches to change that turn order, and Tapu Koko able to just deal huge damage to start off this match if it lands into the Blaziken. It does go protect, but Bisharp still taking a good amount of damage through that.
So much damage done as Blaziken using Flare Blitz right now. It is going to make contact with that Gardevoir. Gets good damage right there. Gardevoir hangs on with just a sliver of hit points, and Gardevoir uses trying to set up Trick Room, so that's bad for that Blaziken, but Bisharp does not mind being in Trick Room at all.
Yeah, Bisharp doesn't mind it at all, and a really smart play there from James to basically decide that Bisharp was what he was more worried about. Not only would it potentially be able to stop the Trick Room by attacking the Gardevoir, but it would also be able to capitalize on it really well as a Pokemon that's not so fast. The Blaziken right now, though, isn't in the most premium of positions. It's going to be speed boosting, and it's going to be in a bit of trouble. So much so, it's forced to switch out.
Blaziken switches out here, going to save that for the end game, possibly. to allow Blaziken to operate outside of Trick Room as Gardevoir protects itself. Amoonguss takes the field here. Not a bad Pokemon to have as Bisharp uses Sucker Punch, failing as Tapu Koko using Volt Switch. Gonna hit in that Bisharp in that Electric Train is enough to get the KO.
Yeah, James in a really solid position right now. The big threat to the Gardevoir is gone, and he gets to switch out the Tapu Koko, a Pokemon usually known for being a little bit faster, and bring in something that might be able to capitalize even better on this Trick Room that he's got in play.
Yeah, and Amoonguss is not bad, and you know, the Electric Train does prevent Amoonguss from being able to set down Spore on grounded Pokemon. Araquanid is going to take the field here from James to try to take advantage of Trick Room. Araquanid is not a speed Pokemon at all, and neither is Amoonguss, so what is Brum going to do to adjust to this Araquanid taking the field?
It's going to be a bit of an ask. I mean, Blaziken isn't going to fare too well against it, not going to be able to deal huge damage. And you've really got to hope that Brum's actually bought the Tapu Bulu. He's going to need that to be able to use Spore for the rest of the game. If he doesn't have that, this Amoonguss may not be able to do what it usually does to try and Trick Room. This Araquanid would like to point out, for those of you wondering why it looks a little bit bigger than usual, it is the Totem Araquanid, so it's a big boy now.
Yep, players opt for Totem Araquanid to prevent it from being Sky Dropped here. Amoonguss does have one option, and that is to Rage Powder away all of the attacks. You know, Blaziken doesn't have a great matchup against that Araquanid, but Amoonguss definitely has a very great defensive matchup with that Araquanid.
Yeah, I mean, it would really help against the Araquanid. The Gardevoirs, though, especially Mega Gardevoir, usually carrying a spread move in Hyper Voice, capitalizing on that Pixelate and able to do good damage. That said, James wants to save that for a little bit later.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty big Intimidate from the Incineroar here. Going to lower that attack stat on Brum's Blaziken by 1 stage. Not going to matter on that Amoonguss, as Brum here going to switch out that Blaziken right away, trying to draw out attacks from James' side. And it looks like Tapu Bulu is going to hit the field here. Going to change that terrain, like you mentioned, Adam, and allow this Amoonguss to Spore around.
Yeah, if it can get some Spores down, it may be able to stall out the Trick Room. Then the Blaziken can come in when Trick Room's gone and tidy up. Araquanid is a little bit concerned about that, though, keeping itself safe with the Protect. So a great turn there for James. Now he's got access to the Fake Out, and he can start to try and get some damage down with this Araquanid.
Yeah, this Incineroar, though, can crash into that Tapu Bulu with a very powerful Flare Blitz. So, you know, not the safest spot for this Tapu Bulu because of how much pressure Incineroar has, and also has access to that Fake Out.
Yeah, the Incineroar is able to do so much work, so that switch with the Gardevoir, they're really, really smart. And, you know, he didn't get punished for it. Even though the Tapu Bulu came in, the Spore heading towards the Araquanid there means James has a very, very kind of safe turn where he gets to make the decisions, and Brum kind of has to try and react perfectly to that.
Araquanid switches out. Tapu Koko is going to take the field here. That Electric Train is going to be so important to prevent Brum from being able to Spore either Pokemon over on James' side here, as now the turn continues. Amoonguss going for the Spore, unfortunately, right there, as Incineroar protects itself with that Electric Train. And here comes a knockoff on that Amoonguss. Going to go ahead and knock off that Wiki Barrier, allowing Amoonguss or preventing it from being able to heal. And here comes a Wood Hammer in that Tapu Koko. Big damage, but Tapu Koko hangs on. Wow, what a smart switch of terrains right there.
Yeah, that change in terrain works in 2 ways. First of all, it stops the Spore, the electric terrain, not allowing Pokemon on the ground to go to sleep, and it reduces the damage from Wood Hammer, and that's not enough to knock out the Tapu Koko, so this works out so nicely for James. Of course, the Incineroar is still applying pressure to both Pokemon over on Brum's side of the field, and I think he's in a solid position now to maybe try and weave in a Flare Blitz there and just take a knockout, leaving just 2 Pokemon remaining.
Yeah, and of course, this is going to be the last turn of Trick Room here, so Brum has to keep that in mind. Maybe that allows Blaziken or this Tapu Bulu to hit the field later on. You know, there it is. Brum is actually going to try to preserve this Tapu Bulu. Blaziken's taking the field, but again, James very reactive right now to that. Very happy about that. Amoonguss actually goes for a Sludge Bomb, lands in that Tapu Koko, gets the KO right there. So now Brum is going to have control of the terrain. Going to be that grassy terrain as Incineroar uses Flare Blitz. That might be the KO on that Amoonguss if it is crashing in there, and it is. Big damage, gets the KO on Amoonguss, so a very strong Trick Room supporter over on Brum's side has been knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest concern right now for James, even though he is certainly a Pokemon up, is, you know, his Gardevoir is very weak, you know, and the Blaziken's going to be able to start capitalizing on the speed boosts.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Trick Room won't be able to be set up again. Araquanid is going to take the field here. Decent matchup against Blaziken because of the fact that that Water Bubble ability prevents it from being hit very hard by those Fire-type attacks. Also prevents burn from that Flare Blitz.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly going to help. You know, it's one of those things with such a good attack stat, you'd love to catch a burn on it, even if you're not doing much damage. But the ability on Araquanid, certainly keeping it very, very safe. Of course, Araquanid answers the Blaziken very well, and Incineroar answers the Tapu Bulu very well. You've got to hope that in the Blaziken's case, that Brum's got something on there that's going to help swing this matchup.
Incineroar switches out, going to preserve that Intimidate for later on to come in against both of these physical attackers on Brum's side. Araquanid using this turn to protect, and this could be dangerous if you're Brum, because if you get the KO on that Gardevoir, Incineroar can come in with that fake out pressure again, as Blaziken reveals that it does have access to low kick here. It hits that Gardevoir, quadruple resist, but so heavily damaged that it still gets that KO, as Incineroar now gets to come in.
Yeah, and James gets the confirmation on the Tapu Bulu item right there. The Blaziken, of course, not having any speed boost right now, and Tapu Bulu moving beforehand, so the Choice Scarf certainly confirmed there. That does mean that, you know, for the rest of the game, James is going to be moving second, you know, both his Pokemon going after both of Brum's Pokemon. But with this Intimidate, he's certainly going to be able to mitigate some of that damage. Both of them physical attackers. If he can hold on and retaliate perfectly with the super effective attacks going kind of across the field, then he'll be in a good position. He's just got to make sure he can take those attacks, though.
And of course, with Blaziken, with his Speed Boost Pokemon that actually has access to Rock Slide, you got to wonder, you know, that has to be a move that this Blaziken knows. You know, if there's a Rock Slide, there's always a chance. We always talk about that, but, you know, that chance of flinch is just so strong.
I mean, Rock Slide is a very, very effective move right now, you know. We do see a protect from Blaziken starting out, and James looks so stoked about that one.
And Incineroar goes for the fake out in that Tapu Bulu. This opens up. James can do some big damage. Oh, a substitute from that Araquanid. So a free substitute on James's Araquanid, allowing it to hide behind that is so big.
Well, that's certainly one way to stop taking big damage from Rock Slide. Getting a substitute in the way means, you know, you're going to need to hit it at least twice, probably 3 times to knock it out. And while you're trying to hit it that many times, the Araquanid's going to be able to weave in a water-type attack and take the knockout on your Blaziken. All you need to do then is make sure Tapu Bulu doesn't go completely crazy and just, you know, consistently knock you out. It is now, though, locked in with its move.
Here comes a Rock Slide from Mega Blaziken. Hits into Incineroar, bring it down to a little bit over 50% as the Araquanid substitute is going to fade here. And how much damage is this Wood Hammer from Tapu Bulu going to do? Needs a critical hit right here to probably get the KO. Here it comes, smashing down in that Araquanid. Big damage, Araquanid hangs on.
Takes it like an absolute champ there. Incineroar,
there's a flinch.
But Araquanid is able to use Liquidation, connecting with the Blaziken. The biggest threat on the field right now is gone. And James's Incineroar, not scared of these Wood Hammers at all, you know, would be able to just clean up this game.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of players that actually do use Araquanid sometimes opt for a berry on it, especially those substitute variants. So we didn't actually see that Araquanid go for a berry there, so maybe it is carrying a different item. Wow, that was such an intense game 1, but I believe James has all the pieces he needs right now to seal the deal with that Incineroar just crashing into that Tapu Bulu.
Yeah, Incineroar just needs to land a Flare Blitz at some point. It is going to get hit by the Wood Hammer, but of course not very effective. Tapu Bulu taking its recoil, and Incineroar's Flare Blitz tidying up game 1 for James Evans.
James Evans now just 1 win away from becoming the world champion. Brum, his friend across the table, needs to force a game 3 here.
I mean, I think it's very possible. Honestly, the way Brum played that game, bringing a Blaziken with Speed Boost in the face of a Trick Room team and managing to get it in a position, you know, saving it until the Trick Room had expired. Really, really good play. I think he just needs to do a little bit more with it in this next game to force us into game 3.
Yeah, and again, information to be had. Actually, the Incineroar took recoil damage from that Flare Blitz, actually went down to under 25% health and ate its Figgy Berry in a pinch. So knowledge for Brum to know, but again, these two players are friends. They already know what each other are running, and sometimes I feel like that is the most intense battle when you already know, well, first off, you know your opponent's team, and then you know that your opponent knows your team too. So I think that's going to be a very interesting mind game between these two players.
Yeah, and I honestly think that there was so many turns in that game where James just made like a perfect prediction. You know, even though in turn 1 he threw a Z move, the Gigavolt Havoc, in towards that Bishop, it wasn't really the worst play in the end. The Bishop was still forced into a Protect and playing it safe, allowing Gardevoir to set up the Trick Room. But for the rest of the game, there were so many good turns when he called Protects, when he was able to just capitalize on Brum trying to carve out a little bit of breathing room for himself. Capitalized on those, knocked out the things he needed to knock out at the right time, and getting rid of that Amoonguss was such a big turn for him, I think.
Yeah, and I definitely think that, you want your moves in the same time as that Tapu Koko to be able to redirect attacks. And we saw Bisharp take so much damage from that Tapu Koko, getting KO'd by the Gigavolt Havoc through the getting damaged by that Gigavolt Havoc through the Protect, and of course that Volt Switch later on that actually secured the KO. Unfortunately for Brum, he didn't have that Amoonguss in at the right time to be able to deal with that Tapu Koko.
Well, if you're Brum as well and you look down at your team, you know that James went for a Trick Room option. You've got a really good Trick Room pairing of your own there in the Mimikyu and the Snorlax. If you can get the Snorlax in and start capitalizing on it, use the Trick Room that James sets up to your advantage. It could be interesting. It's certainly not something we're going to see to start this game, though.
And here we go now, Game 2 of the Senior Division World Finals. James Evan versus Brum de Jonge. It is going to be Tapu Koko and Gardevoir leads for James. Over on the other side, Blaziken and Bisharp. Gardevoir is going to trace the Defiant ability again. Not that important for that Gardevoir.
It's not the one. I mean, you don't really want to trace either of them. It shouldn't matter as he's going to Mega Evolve immediately. But, could have been interesting maybe earlier in the Swiss rounds. Right now, though, he has to focus on this game. And if you're Brum, I think you have to try and make some kind of change. If you've got a change in the back, you might have to show it because this Bisharp is probably forced into playing it very, very safe again.
Yeah, and we know that first turn of Game 1, James was actually just already willing to throw out that Gigavolt Havoc over onto Brum's side of the field. That could get the KO on that Blaziken, that could get the KO on that Bisharp, so Brum also has to play a bit defensively here as Blaziken and Gardevoir Mega Evolve from each player's respective sides of the field.
I've seen this opening before. This is what we had in Game 1. Absolutely no shocks in this one.
Oh,
There's
no
not going to be any protects.
No
and
protects.
Gigavolt Havoc. James is having a really good time with that one. Looking pretty comfortable that something isn't going to be around in about 10 to 15 seconds.
So much damage being just thrown out onto the field here from this Gigavolt Havoc. Same type attack bonus, also boosted by the electric terrain. Just, this is going to be a KO on that Mega Blaziken, and that is a huge offensive threat over on Brum's side, just removed instantly. How is Bisharp going to follow? That is a critical hit. Bravey damage on top right there. Brum's Gardevoir actually no Trick Room, just going for the Hyper Voice. Single target Hyper Voice on that Bisharp. Big damage. Bisharp hangs on as Bisharp uses knockoff. Hits that Gardevoir. Not going to have an item knockoff, but Bisharp actually holds a life orb and gets the KO. So Brum now down to his final 2 Pokemon after just turn 1 here.
Yeah, James is so close to taking that World Championships, and everything went right for him in that turn. He actually managed to knock out both the Bisharp and the Blaziken. This Amoonguss is now playing without the Trick Room. He's not set that up. And this Tapu Bulu has to make a choice right now on what move it wants to play with for the rest of the game. Of course, he's only seen the first 2 on James's team. So if he picks something that isn't super effective against something in the back, then you're in trouble. I mean, purely bringing the Incineroar for James here could put him in such a good position.
Yeah, and the fact that, Tapu Koko can switch out over on James' side means that Brum does not have that terrain advantage at all. James can now function as much as he wants to in that electric terrain, preventing Amoonguss from being able to spore and not allowing Tapu Bulu to go for those powerful grassy terrain boosted wood hammers.
Yeah, Tapu Koko is going to save its terrain for later, and there is the Incineroar. So both these Pokemon don't appreciate that on the field right now at all. Brum really needs to find a way to deal with that with just these 2, and he needs to find it very quickly.
Gardevoir protects itself here, not wanting to possibly get KO'd by a Wood Hammer or even get put to sleep. Tapu Bulu uses Wood Hammer here, hits into that Incineroar slot, but that Intimidate is so big, not much damage dealt at all. What is Amoonguss going to follow up with? It is a Sludge Bomb hitting into that Gardevoir slot, into that Protect, so no damage, no damage done to that Gardevoir. Gardevoir survives yet another turn, but again, Tapu Koko can easily just come right back in.
Yeah, Tapu Koko can come in to make sure there's no Spore, and of course, Tapu Bulu's damage is just going to keep going down. Honestly, between the Tapu Koko and the Incineroar, you can make this Tapu Bulu nigh on useless for the rest of the game. It's going to have its attack reduced by consistent Intimidates, and if it loses its terrain, it's going to be in trouble.
Yep, Tapu Bulu now flinches as Gardevoir uses Hyper Voice, doing some big damage on Tapu Bulu. Over on the other side, Tapu Bulu does hang on as Amoonguss uses Spore here. It is going to put that Incineroar to sleep. And that Incineroar is a very strong Pokemon if you are James, being able to cycle those Intimidates and being able to crash into that Amoonguss with that Flare Blitz.
Yeah, and obviously the Tapu Bulu doesn't appreciate it either, but it's so low, I think any attack right now would probably get the knockout. This Amoonguss is going to have to do a whole lot of work. There is the option, once Gardevoir is gone, to maybe try and buy a little bit of time with Rage Powder, but you've got to get rid of the Gardevoir first, because Hyper Voice doesn't care about that in the slightest.
I think Tapu Bulu actually might just KO itself from that Wood Hammer recoil if it tries to get KO on that Gardevoir from this point.
If it goes for it, I mean, he's stuck in it now. We know it's got the Choice Scarf. Brum is going to be able to have maybe 1 or 2 Wood Hammers land. But apart from that, I mean, he has no real recovery, especially with that grassy terrain leaving the field.
Gardevoir protects itself, not wanting to get KO'd just yet. Tapu Bulu goes for that Wood Hammer, hits in that Tapu Koko slot, still does decent damage to that Tapu Koko. Bulu actually gets KO'd from that point, and now it's just going to be Amoonguss. Amoonguss is not known as the most offensive Pokemon, really just out there for support, just standing out there by itself, facing down 4 Pokemon over on James's side.
Poor brave Amoonguss, you've been so good for so many years, but this is a little bit too much of an ask for you in this one. It's been one of the most popular Pokemon in the video game championships, and now it's going to
Here comes the Thunderbolt. Gardevoir can follow up with a powerful Psyshock here. Hits into that Amoonguss slot. Both players shake hands as Amoonguss gets hit. Amoonguss gets KO'd, and James Evans is your 2018 Pokemon Video Game World Champion in the Seniors Division. Congratulations, James. Well played set from both players.
Yeah, James, though, I think in Game 2, putting on the absolute clinic on how to execute his team. Everything he learned in Game 1, he used to his advantage in Game 2, and a huge handshake there from both players.
2 friends meeting in the finals. James last year going 1-3 drop. Well, guess what, James? You are now a world champion.
Yeah, they are both fantastic players, but James gets to age up into the Masters division with the World Championships under his belt. A fantastic achievement for James, you know, winning one of the biggest events in Europe at the beginning of the season. Consistently good performances at the internationals.
Take the rest, James. You deserve it. You played so hard all weekend. And of course, your opponent, your friend Brum, has also done exceptionally well, and I expect to see a lot coming from both of these players in the future.
Yeah, I think they're going to age up into the Masters perfectly. There's not really going to be much delay in them keeping up these performances, I doubt. It's really, really good play. Both players having a team very, very interesting, I think, certainly differently to what we see in the Masters, but they execute it so, so well. Game 2, that landing of the Gigavolt Havoc into the Bishop just made the game very, very easy for James.
Yeah, a very hyper offensive start to Game 2. You know, Game 1, Brum almost brought it back. Brum was very close. He had the right pieces right there, you know, protecting that Bisharp, not allowing Pokemon to get knocked out so easily. He was actually able to function in that Trick Room with that Amoonguss. You know, James just kind of had the beat on him a couple of turns with the switches and the predictions of those protects, like you've already mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that game was a lot closer, but Game 2, just ignoring the Trick Room option. I mean, Brum didn't even try and bring his Trick Room there. And even though when we looked at the teams in Team Preview, Trick Room looked like it was going to be a much bigger deal than it was. That Blaziken actually came both games, but losing it at the beginning was so hard for Brum.
Of course, there's no other player that I'd love to hear from more, so let's go ahead and throw it down to Anna on the floor with our new world champion, James.
James, just a moment ago, you were laying on the stage with your hands on your face. Tell us about how this moment feels.
It feels amazing, and honestly, it's just like, this has been 4 years in the making for me, and I finally did it.
What went into those 4 years? What got you here?
First 2 years were just kind of spectating. I went to 2014 Worlds and 2015 Worlds and just kind of watched. Then it was 2016 where I really decided when I wanted to play. So I picked it up around November, I think, and I just started playing from there.
What does it take to become a champion like this? If someone at home wants to learn to prepare like you do, what do they have to do?
You gotta dream for it and just work about it every day. That's what I did. There'll be laughing, there'll be crying, there'll be blood, sweat, and tears, and you just gotta work for it.
That's great advice. You must be feeling amazing right now, and so many people are cheering for you. You're waving to people in the crowd. Who do you want to say hello and thank you to?
I would like to thank my family first of all, because they've been there for me always. Second, I want to shout out all my friends, Ben, Brian, Carson, Oliver, everyone that helped me along the way. Shouts to the Peanut Gallery as well.
And anything that you want to say to the Pokemon community as their new world champion?
I don't know.
Don't worry, you have plenty of time to think about it and celebrate with your friends. Congratulations. Let's hear it one more time for James. And guys, don't go anywhere because we have the Masters Division Finals coming up right after this.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2018 Pokemon World Championships in Nashville, Tennessee. Our crowd is packed to the gills in here in the beautiful Music City Center of Nashville, Tennessee. My name is Evan Latt, and I am just thrilled to be joined here at the desk by my good friend Aaron Zhang to bring it all home with the Masters Division Finals.
Yeah, so many matches throughout the entire course of the weekend, but we have 2 players remaining here in the Masters Division. They truly can call themselves the best in the world, but only one of them gets to take home that grand title of World Champion.
Absolutely. Both of our finalists have competed through a grueling circuit over the course of this entire weekend to make it here to the finals. And it's going to be Emilio Forbes of the United States of America facing off against Paul Ruiz from Ecuador. Potential history in the making here in Nashville, with Paul Ruiz making the finals of the World Championships, may be able to take home the very first World Championships in the Masters Division for the video game championships for the entirety of the Latin America region.
Yeah, so much.
Oh, and he's got people out here.
An entire region. You can hear just how loud that crowd is, how exciting. And Emilio, if he does win, will be the 3rd North American Masters World Champion, joining Ray Rizzo and Wolf Glick, 2 of the most accomplished players, maybe the 2 most accomplished players of all time in the game, alongside Sejum Park. So those are some pretty good names to be up next to.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and toss it on down to the main stage to meet our 2 finalists. Anna, take it away.
I'm sure you almost can't hear me because the crowd is already deafening here on the main stage for the Pokemon Video Game Masters Championship Finals. I don't have to tell you to get excited because I can tell you already are, and it's time to introduce your players. Please welcome, from the United States, Emilio Forbes! And from Ecuador, Paul Ruiz. You both have some rabid fans out here ready to watch you play, so I'm not going to stand in your way. Please shake hands, take your seats. Crowd, tell me who's your champion. Casters, I can't tell. They are both so excited. Let's get into this match.
I can't tell either. This is home court advantage for Emilio Forbes, but Latin America turned out, and they're here to cheer on Paul Ruiz.
So much energy, some of the loudest reactions from the crowd I've ever heard at a live event, so I hope you guys can keep it up throughout the course of this best of 3, but it's going to be such a good game. I think 2 of the coolest teams I've seen in the VGC 2018 format, and truly 2 of the best players in the world piloting it to where they are. So we're going to take a look at these players and some of the accomplishments that they have had. Of course, Emilio, your American representative, running a team of Tapu Bulu, Incineroar, Latias, Gengar, Landorus, Therian, and Politoed. Emilio did get 2nd at a regional championship this year, also placed top 8 at the Anaheim Open last year, and capped it off with a top 16 finish at the North American International Championships. But this truly is his major breakout performance. So many incredible wins on stream with a really cool team to back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Emilio at a few events over the course of his career playing Pokemon. I talked to him before we started. He is excited to be here on the finals main stage representing America, but he will have to go through Paul Ruiz, who is Latin America's hope. The dream is alive in Paul Ruiz. You can see last year, a semi-finalist in the World Championships. The crowd is already going bonkers for him. He came to the World Championships last year with a dream of making top 8. He performed 1 better and made it to the top 4. He went home having achieved his dream, looked back on the matches, saw how well he played, and was like, top 4 is not good enough. I am here to be the champion. I am here to represent my country and my continent, and I am going to be the first Latin American champion in the video game championships.
Yeah, to be able to make it back to this stage after making it so far last year, truly impressive. But Paul doesn't want to stop just now. He's so close to realizing that dream that you were talking about. He's one best-of-3 set away from winning the World Championships, but Emilio's not going to make it any easier for him, and it's going to be a great set. I think we are finally ready to get into this World Championship Finals.
It is game 1 of our Masters Division Finals here. Best-of-3 set, Emilio Forbes versus Paul Ruiz. Both players, extensive planning and preparation going into this first game. Both players having taken some time to think out their game plan. Both think it's going to be a very even matchup here. And really, this first turn, Emilio running that Mega Gengar team, going to be so important not to fall behind early.
Yeah, this turn 1 is going to be incredibly important here. Emilio has led Gengar nearly throughout the entire course of the tournament, and he does have this Perish Song capability, so once again, we do see the Gengar here. Not too much of a surprise, but once that Gengar Mega Evolves and potentially sets up a Perish Song, you're trapped in for 3 turns, and so Paul knows that he has to play around that these next couple of turns, and his lead is definitely a pretty strong one here to counter it right from the get-go.
Absolutely. Paul Ruiz leading that Gastrodon and Salamence. Emilio, when we spoke to him before the match, said that Gastrodon was going to be the biggest threat on Paul's team, and it's right there on turn 1, threatening both the Landorus and the Gengar.
Landorus here really not able to do too much damage-wise. It can potentially threaten the Gastrodon with a Z move, but of course the Salamence did intimidate it, so I think likely here we're going to want to see it maybe go for a U-turn or switch out. Gengar here is actually really threatened immediately by the potential Z move from that Gastrodon, but of course Emilio probably brought the Tapu Bulu in this game to counter the Gastrodon. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it coming here, but it's actually the Incineroar to cycle out a Fake Out.
Yeah, it just double intimidates off onto that Salamence as well, but Incineroar able to exert some Fake Out pressure against Paul's Pokemon, and a big deal for stalling turns of Perish Song, getting those free turns as much as possible. Mega Salamence is the choice from Paul's side. Going to go ahead and boost up the power of Salamence, get that Aerialate ability to make sure that it can hit for flying type damage in the future should that Tapu Bulu come out. Mega Gengar on the field immediately from Emilio, trapping in the Gastrodon and Salamence. And Paul Ruiz going ahead and neutralizing one of those Intimidates on the Salamence with the Dragon Dance, boosting its speed, boosting its attack. Gengar sets up a substitute, though, going to be protected from an attack from Paul. And it looks like Gastrodon's just going to go right ahead with a Z Crystal boosted attack here. If that's into the substitute, that's bad news for Paul.
Yeah, he'll at least be able to break the substitute, but that's not why you want to commit this early on in the game. So let's see who it targets. If he called the Incineroar switch in, would have been incredible, but I think still okay here. At least you now break the substitute and your Salamence is guaranteed to be faster than the Gengar. But like you mentioned, the Cyclave Intimidates, I think that's one thing that's really difficult for Paul's team to deal with here. He only has 2 special attackers. It's likely he does have that Tapu Koko in the back, but now Emilio has a trap in, so he can continue cycling the Landorus back in and out. Gengar, however, on the other hand, does have a pretty low defense stat. So even with the Intimidate, Salamence can still hit for pretty hard, but now that Incineroar is in, you can go for a potential Fake Out. However, Gengar has to worry about attacks from both Gastrodon and Salamence right now.
Yeah, really difficult to pick which Pokemon you want to Fake Out this turn. If you're Emilio, go straight for the Gastrodon. Salamence showing double edge with that boost. Is enough, picks it up. Paul Ruiz has broken the trap. Mega Gengar goes down. Salamence takes damage from the recoil, and Gastrodon flinching from that Fake Out, but huge threat off the field on Emilio's side. Mega Gengar not able to set the trap, not able to set the Perish Song. Gonna need this Latias to do some work in this game to make up for that Mega Gengar.
What an incredible game plan Paul came with in this set. I thought Gengar was easily the most important Pokemon on Emilio's team, and he's able to get it right out of the field immediately. Despite the attack drops in Salamence, Salamence really strong physically and Gengar really frail defensively, still gets knocked out there, and that's a big knockout for Paul. We do see the Latias come out, does threaten the Salamence with something like an Ice Beam, but this Gastrodon is going to be even harder to deal with now because there is no Tapu Bulu in the back.
Yeah, no Tapu Bulu, which means that Gastrodon gets to go up against a Latias, an Incineroar, and a Landorus. Loves that matchup. Incineroar switching out for the Mega Salamence. Paul will be protecting that Pokemon on his side. Gets the Intimidate off onto Emilio's Incineroar as well and sets up Fake Out pressure for himself in the next turn.
Did he
Landorus on the switch in. Both Pokemon on Emilio's side. Super weak to this Gastrodon. Hoping to bait out an Earth Power from the Gastrodon. And it's an Ice Beam from the Latias. Going to deal some damage to that Incineroar. Very little bit of damage. And it's an Ice Beam from Gastrodon!
That's an Ice Beam! That's it!
Oh, the Landorus! Gastrodon free damage on that Landorus. 4 times super effective, hanging on with just a sliver of health there. Paul Ruiz, yo, he's here for the championship. He does not want to go home a runner-up.
That was an ice beam, but that play was fiery hot right there. Almost knocking out the Landorus, but still such an incredible play. Ice beaming and Incineroar calling the switch out. And if you're able to make those plays with the Gastron like that, this Gastron is already really difficult to deal with. And he was able to bring in the Incineroar to cycle out for fake out pressure. This Latias really doesn't do anything against Incineroar. Can maybe go for a psychic type attack onto the Gastron, but this is really tricky here. I mean, Paul could fake out the Landorus relatively free and get a switch in here, as we will do so.
Yeah, switching in the Snorlax, Emilio does have the option of using that Psychium Z on his Latias for some big damage, but instead just going to go for the Protect this turn. Does not want to get faked out on either of his Pokemon. Double Protect coming out, so Snorlax gets in for absolutely free. Incineroar just going to with that fake out into the Landorus Protect, but Paul Ruiz has set up a position where he now has that Snorlax out, able to tank damage from both the Landorus and the Latias pretty easily.
Yeah, this Snorlax is a tricky Pokemon to bring into this matchup because of the Gengar. It can't really touch the Gengar as it doesn't actually have high horsepower, but now that the Gengar's out the way, it doesn't even need a setup. It can just go for attacks. You know, Landorus is already so low as is, and we're going to see Incineroar switch out to Cycle and Intimidate back in. Also, you want to conserve that for an endgame potentially against the Latias.
Yeah, absolutely, and that Gastrodon is already exerting so much pressure on both of Emilio's Pokemon. Will take an Ice Beam from the Latias on the switch, and Gastrodon is pretty bulky here. Looks like we are going to see another Tectonic Rage coming out, this time from Emilio's Landorus. Would be big if it hit the Gastrodon on the switch-in, but Snorlax protecting will be able to defend against most of the damage.
Yeah, that's a great turn for Paul there once again. Does guard the Gastrodon, but I think Paul doesn't mind this turn too much because now you know that there is no immediate threat to the Snorlax. No Z-move pressure from either Pokemon. Gastrodon will go down, but it has done its work in this game. I mean, being able to get that Ice Beam while putting on so much pressure. More importantly, now this Snorlax is so much more difficult to deal with. I think both Snorlax and Gastrodon major threats from Paul's team, especially if you eliminate the Gengar and don't have to worry about Tapu Bulu. Now, the Intimidate comes against the Landorus. Latias is even less useful here, and Snorlax puts on immense pressure against both Pokemon. Could considering setting up, but maybe you just go for damage at this point.
Yeah, you have Incineroar out on the field with fake out pressure. Pretty easy to get a Belly Drum off here if you're Paul Ruiz, but yeah, like you mentioned, may just be best to go for immediate damage. Catch Pokemon like this Incineroar on the switch-in. The Intimidate will be hitting both Paul Ruiz's Incineroar and the Snorlax, dropping their attack a single stage, making the switch-in a little bit safer. Fake out will come out from Paul onto the Latias, so no damage coming out from Emilio, and a free Belly Drum, absolutely free Belly Drum from that Snorlax. Going to go ahead and maximize its attack, negating the Intimidate entirely and healing all the way up with its Gluttony ability, eating that berry at 50%. Healing all the way back up, and that is an angry Snorlax on the field.
Yeah, Paul has really positioned this Snorlax into a perfect position, actually, where we actually know it has Recycle as well, so it could heal back even later on in the game, but Latias and Incineroar right now can't really put on, once again, too much pressure in terms of damage, and Snorlax is just going to take a turn here to blow a potential fake out.
Yeah, Snorlax just going to go ahead and protect this turn so it does not get faked out. Emilio predicting that protect will go ahead and just try and get the fake out onto Incineroar to prevent Paul from making any moves of his own. But now we are in a position where Snorlax cannot be faked out. It will be able to get a frustration off, and Emilio no longer has that Gengar to wall this Snorlax, so whatever switches in is going to take a beating.
Yeah, with the double protect now, Paul is free to target either of these two Pokemon. Emilio has to hope for an Ice Beam freeze here on Snorlax if he wants any chance. And does he get the freeze here? Doesn't do very much damage, and no freeze.
No freeze, and a Snarl coming out from Paul Ruiz's Incineroar will drop the special attack of that Latias, making Latias so much less threatening, especially if it ends up being the only Pokemon left unable to switch out. But Paul's just going to play this one safe, play it a little slow, recover up that berry, and make sure that it can survive some more hits coming later. As Emilio switches Incineroar out for Landorus, cycling those Intimidates, but it's going to take a lot of cycling to get that Snorlax back into a reasonable position.
Yeah, you're pretty much hoping for maybe an Earthquake critical hit here, but I'm not even sure that will knock out the Snorlax, and so the Recycle just allows
it into a berry range.
Yeah, exactly. So Paul playing it safe here, and I think that's an excellent decision on his end. Also, the Snarl means that Latias damage output is basically negligible against Snorlax right now, so this Snorlax is looking like an absolute monster, being able to set up in the perfect position, and the reason reason why Paul was able to do this was because he eliminated that Gengar on the second turn of this game. So it feels like Paul really came here with a concise game plan and has been executing it perfectly. Let's see if we get a freeze from Ice Beam right now.
Yeah, no protect, just another Ice Beam onto Snorlax.
No
Not
freeze.
enough to get the berry either, so this Earthquake will have an opportunity to crit on the Snorlax. Connects with both Incineroar and Snorlax, deals a lot of damage. Gets the KO on Incineroar, but not on the Snorlax. Gets the crit, but on the wrong Pokemon. Snorlax just going to heal back up with the berry and fire off of frustration into Emilio's side.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a guaranteed knockout, presumably targeting down the Landers, but let's see.
Ooh, it's going to be the Latias.
Yeah, going to go for Latias actually, just to probably avoid any potential freeze. Yeah,
and makes it much more safe for Salamence to come back in as the final Pokemon.
Absolutely. So I think either target there, honestly, a pretty good one. Ended up going for the Latias. Now you don't have to worry about the freeze chance, which I think is actually probably a bigger deal. Whereas with Landorus, now you have to worry maybe about Rock Slide flinches, but at least, like you mentioned, you do have the speed advantage completely here with Salamence.
All right, so no more switching out of Intimidate on Emilio's side. We'll have to be dealing with this +4 Snorlax. Does get the Intimidate off onto Salamence, but being able to just double protect away the fake out pressure. Looks like Emilio wants to go directly into game 2, realizing he has no outs here, and Paul Ruiz, just like that, is up 1-0 in the Masters World Championship Finals. 1 game away from bringing the trophy to Latin America, to Ecuador, and making history here in Nashville.
You really could tell that Paul came with a game plan in this one. I feel like bringing Snorlax into this matchup can be really tricky because you're bringing it against a Gengar, which you can't touch at all. But once that Gengar was gone, Paul was able to find the perfect position, the perfect turn to be able to set up that belly drum. Emilio opted not to bring that Tapu Bulu either, so it meant that it was almost impossible to deal with both Gastrodon and Snorlax at the same time. So going into this next game, I think Paul's lead was probably a little bit better than Emilio's from the start, and he was able to capitalize off that initial Dragon Dance, getting rid of that substitute, and then now knowing that, okay, Salamence even at -1 attack is still going to be able to knock out my Gengar with that double edge. I'm not sure Emilio was quite expecting that damage out, and you can tell Paul is living in it right now, hyping up that entire crowd.
Yeah, Paul is feeling the energy coming out from the crowd, and if you want Emilio to take home the championship, you're going to need to be sending him some energy as well, because he needs to win this game too. If he does not win, he will be ending his tournament, his Cinderella tournament here as a runner-up. But if he wins, he can force a game 3 and keep those championship hopes alive.
Emilio here, I was kind of surprised to see the Landorus lead. I think I was expecting something like Incineroar and Gengar, but regardless, now what is important to know is that Salamence is really, really strong. I think a Salamence Gastrodon, a really clever lead there. One way you could potentially threaten that a little bit more is maybe leading the Latias, because that does threaten the Salamence immediately with some damage output. You also actually threaten Gastrodon at least with some consistent psychic damage as well. So we'll see how Emilio adjusts here, because Paul came with a really good game plan in that first game.
All right, well, game 2 of our Masters Division Finals here. Emilio Forbes versus Paul Ruiz. We saw in turn 1 just how important the lead combination was. Paul able to snipe out that Gengar really early on, sticks with what he knows works, Salamence and Gastrodon. Emilio making the decision to switch up the leads just a little bit, still sticking with the Gengar lead, but bringing out the Latias this time to immediately threaten that Salamence.
I really like that adjustment by Emilio, and I think that's what he should have gone for now, because the threat of Latias means that Salamence cannot go for a necessarily free Dragon Dance. You have to be worried about the Ice Beam coming out immediately. So a great lead by Emilio here. I thought last time Paul had the advantage because turn 1 he was able to get a free Dragon Dance. This time around he doesn't have to worry about Intimidate, but the threat of Latias immediately definitely have to scare you off a little bit. Gastrodon, however, still threatens Gengar immensely, and Gengar doesn't provide too much damage against either of these Pokemon.
Yeah, and we know Latias not only threatens the Salamence, but also threatens that Gastrodon with the Psychium Z that it's holding, able to launch off a Shattered Psyche should it decide to just try and fire down that Gastrodon that really controlled the game for Paul. Looks like Paul's going to protect the Salamence and switch in the Snorlax in the face of that Gengar that we know Snorlax is unable to actually damage, only having Frustration as an attack. So Emilio able to Mega Evolve Gengar now, trapping in the Gastrodon and the Snorlax, going for a Protect this time, not a substitute. Latias also going to go for a Protect here, just trying to scout out what Paul was going to do. And it looks like going to bait out another of these Z moves from the Gastrodon. This time not hitting into the substitute, but will be hitting into a protect.
Yeah, last time around it did hit into the substitute, but what's more important is it actually does get chip damage enough where probably another Earth Power or that -1 double edge will knock out. So even though you might necessarily want, it's actually still a pretty good turn here where you do a lot of damage, and that does put the pressure on against Gengar. You see that almost does have to
double.
Oh!
A critical hit through the protect, so dealing more damage than the substitute last time around, but crucially, that Snorlax is now trapped in here with Gengar. At least Gengar and Latias both use their protect, so no safe ability for Emilio to stick around with Gengar, set the trap, and continue to boost that way.
Ooh,
just going to go on the attack, just damage, no Perish Song coming out. Deals a good amount to Gastrodon and gets the special defense drop, which is going to be huge for this Shattered Psyche coming out from Latias.
Yeah, it should knock out the Gastrodon. This is presumably a double target there, especially after that special defense drop, but if Paul here is going for a belly drum, maybe it's actually not the end of the world. At least he does set up the Snorlax, and now that threatens everything on the Latias side. You know that Gengar is already the one Pokemon that can resist the normal type attack, so you can consistently target those returns into the Latias slot, and Gastrodon will go
There it
down.
goes. Gastrodon goes down to the Shattered Psyche. Emilio takes the Pokemon lead in Game 1, but Paul will be able to go ahead and set up the belly drum on his Snorlax. And actually, the interesting part about having the Snorlax and the Mega Gengar out is they can't actually damage each other.
Right.
The only option for Gengar to get that Snorlax off the field is the Perish Song. So really going to have to see if Emilio is going to be able to play around that, but that KO means that Paul will be able to switch in the Incineroar, threatening potentially both the Mega Gengar and the Latias.
I think Incineroar definitely the correct Pokemon to bring out in this situation. If you bring out Salamence, you're at threat. If Latias protects, they can just Ice Beam you the next turn and you're trapped in. So there's some Protect mind games that feels like a 50-50 on whether you call it correctly or not. With Incineroar, you don't have to gamble as much about that. And now, just threaten, of course, the Gengar with damage. Even if it chooses to go for substitute, we know that the Incineroar does have Snarl, and of course Snorlax can just now knock out that Latias slot. More importantly for Paul, the Z move has now been committed, so it's really difficult to actually deal with this Snorlax, other than that Perish Song, as you mentioned. Interestingly enough, if we're in a situation where it's Gengar versus Snorlax one-on-one, Perish Song will actually lose Emilio the game because Paul's Snorlax is slower.
Well, Emilio is going to go ahead and retreat the Mega Gengar for his own Incineroar, getting fake out pressure on the field for himself and intimidates off onto both the enemy Incineroar and Snorlax. But again, when Belly Drum maxes out your attack, it's going to take a lot to get that back under control. Incineroar will use Flare Blitz into what was the Gengar, now the opposing Incineroar on Emilio's side, dealing a little bit of damage, while Latias protects itself from this Snorlax's frustration.
Paul playing it safe this turn, ended up not going for something like a Recycle maybe to get the berry back, but I think perfectly reasonable play. Nice switch in there by Emilio actually to get that Intimidate off. Helps a little bit more against the Incineroar. Snorlax is still going to be getting knockouts, but now you do have the potential to get a fake out off. It's a relatively safe switch in there because it's highly unlikely Snorlax is going to target down that Gengar with a normal type attack. So a little bit of more momentum going into Emilio's favor. He made some really nice adjustments, and knocking out that Gastrodon earlier was a great play.
Yeah, and crucially, keeping that Mega Gengar around, which makes that Snorlax much less scary. Always has the opportunity to switch the Gengar in to protect a Pokemon on Emilio's side. Actually just going to switch the Latias out for the Landorus. Going to get Intimidates off again onto both of Paul's Pokemon, but leaving that slot open to an attack from the Snorlax. Double switch, so Mega Gengar will come back in here, protecting the Incineroar. Just going to go ahead and set the trap again. Snarl comes out again from Paul's Incineroar, deals a little bit of damage to Gengar, drops the special attack, meaning that Gengar is really not threatening anything but a Perish Song here.
Where's the frustration going? Oh, into the Gengar.
Emilio making the right call. Frustration into Gengar. And Snorlax probably feeling a little bit frustrated himself.
Yeah, double switch there definitely means that you are vulnerable to a potential knockout there immediately. So Emilio does call it correctly. Gengar still does take some damage, but now he's got the trap in. Incineroar's damage output really reduced. I mean, Snarl, however, is still going to chip away, but this Gengar is still healthy enough to probably survive. Definitely going to survive one. You're going to need to go for at least 2 here. And, you know, the Landorus, of course, putting on pressure with Earthquake. However, Snorlax is still sitting at +4 attack, so it still will easily knock out anything on the Landorus slot. I think this is definitely still a pretty even board position for both players.
We're basically in the same position as we were a couple of turns ago, last time Gengar was here. But with the Landorus out instead of the Latias, Emilio just trying to chip away at that attack stat with all of these intimidates. Got it down to +3 now.
Yep.
Still pretty strong, but getting a little bit weaker. Landorus will go ahead and U-turn out, so switching out, able to now switch the Gengar back in with that U-turn, protecting the Landorus for one more turn and making sure that Paul does not get any damage out. Has to be the Gengar in that slot. No other option. Can't risk switching in the Latias. So Paul, Incineroar does go for another Flare Blitz. This time it's going to target down the Incineroar a second time, dealing even less damage than it did the first time. And Snorlax is so frustrated. Emilio is just dancing around Paul right now with all these switches, these U-turns, and making solid use of Mega Gengar's immunity to the normal type frustration.
Yeah, these it's not every day you see a Snorlax get intimidated so much to the point where maybe it actually won't be able to get those guaranteed knockouts, but really, really smart cycling here from Emilio thus far, and he's been able to negate so many attacks, and there's the Perish Song finally.
Finally gets the Perish Song off onto the Incineroar and the Snorlax. Incineroar does flinch. Snorlax will be able to fire off a frustration, this time actually connecting with the Pokemon.
Yes.
Finally connects with the Pokemon with that frustration, knocks out Incineroar, but now there is a timer on the field. Snorlax needs to get more Pokemon knockouts if it's going to be effective here.
Yeah, I genuinely was wondering, at +3, if you have like no attack investment in Snorlax, maybe you actually don't even knock out the Incineroar, but it does manage to pick up that knockout. But another Intimidate coming out, meaning that the Snorlax now is only a +2 attack. And
just a Sword Stance.
Yes, exactly. And with that Perish Song out on the field now, you are on a timer with both of these two Pokemon. I think if you manage to knock out both throughout the Perish Song and Paul isn't able to take more than one knockout, the game is probably over. So Emilio has made some really incredible switches this game, and that specifically has really kept him in it, especially after a strong lead.
All right, Emilio's Landorus and Gengar. This is a super scary two Pokemon set to have out on the field if you're Paul Ruiz. Gengar free to switch out to protect, or just protect to stall the Perish Song, while Landorus can U-turn all over the place, all kinds of shenanigans. Emilio just going to start the double protects up so he can start counting down those Perish Song turns. And the Snarl's going into nothing, and Snorlax, his frustration, also into nothing.
This next turn is going to be really huge. I think it's more or less actually going to decide this game specifically here, because there's so much going on right now, right? Both Pokemon protected, so you can freely target potentially both. So the Gengar here, of course, if the Landorus gets knocked out, if the Gengar still remains in, then it's actually going to feint to its own Perish Song. So you'd imagine maybe Gengar wants to switch out, but if it does, the Snorlax can call that and just target that slot with the frustration.
And so many switch shenanigans are possible with both the option of switching out Gengar, U-turning Landorus to bring the Gengar back in. It's kind of like a janky ally switch.
Yeah, exactly. And the other question I got to ask is, is Snorlax at +2 going to be able to knock out that Landorus? We see Substitute here.
Substitute coming out from Gengar will be protected from an attack. Landorus' U-turn into the Incineroar deals a lot of damage with a critical hit. But that Substitute is going to protect the Gengar from a lot of types of damage.
But not the
Snarl! Latias is the switch in front of the Incineroar, and the Snarl! The Snarl goes through!
The Substitute!
Goes through the Substitute, sound attacks not affecting the Substitute, knocks out the Mega Gengar, gets some damage on the Latias, gets a special defense or special attack drop, and the frustration finally coming out. All of that.
That's a knockout! Paul Ruiz can taste the World Championship. What an incredible play there. He gets it. It's exactly what he needed to do there. And, with the option of Snarl actually going through Substitute, that saved Paul the game there. If it didn't, then Gengar gets an extra turn there, and the Perish Trap most likely goes down, and Paul loses both of his Pokemon. But perfect play there by Paul to get a double knockout. And despite all the intimidates, despite all these switches by Emilio, Paul Ruiz is now one turn away from winning this World Championship, and he must be able to taste it. So incredibly well played despite Emilio's switches.
Paul Ruiz has given up so much this year for a taste at the championship. He knew all along semifinals weren't enough. He wanted to bring home the cup, bring home the championship title back to Latin America for the first time in the video game championships. Intimidate from Salamence will make sure that the Landorus not able to do much of anything at all. The Perish Song finally getting the KO onto Snorlax, and a second Intimidate coming in from the Incineroar that switched out. Landorus now at -2 attack. facing down Salamence and Incineroar with fake out pressure and a protect that was just used.
All you need to do is click fake out, go for a Dragon Dance. That Salamence will be able to knock out the landers. You can see the emotion in Paul's face, but I gotta say, wow, this second game was so exciting where I felt like Emilio made some really incredible adjustments, and it felt like he had Paul's number for multiple turns with all those switches. But that's the thing, right? Once a Snorlax sets up, it's still, even with all these activities, going to be able to do so much damage.
Oh, no double protect.
There's the fake out coming out, most likely a Dragon Dance from that Salamence, as we do see, and that effectively should seal up the game. So incredibly played here by Paul, and I think he came with a masterful game plan, right? He ended up bringing Snorlax into
there
this set,
it is.
And wow.
There it is. Emilio going to go ahead and forfeit this match and wake up, world, because Paul Ruiz is your first ever Latin American world champion, representing his country, representing his continent. That's Paul Ruiz of Ecuador, and he is your world champion.
So incredibly played there. Once again, congratulations to Emilio for what really was his breakout performance, truly establishing himself as not only one of the best players in North America, but clearly one of the best players in the world. But Paul came very, very well prepared, I think.
Played out of his mind.
Absolutely. When I was kind of looking into the matchup and talking about it before this finals, Snorlax was a factor I didn't even really think too hard of because I thought it was really difficult to bring to this matchup. You know, you have to worry about Gengar just trapping you in and it being relatively useless, but Paul was able to navigate it perfectly. He found scenarios in both games where he was able to get that belly drum up and just sweep through, and you can see how the Snarl going to the substitute too, you know, how cool of a mechanic that Paul was able to take advantage of. And you can see him celebrate there. The whole crowd is chanting his name. From third place last year to first place this year, this guy truly is something special.
Absolutely. Could not have been a more deserving world champion this year. You talk about the preparation that went into this game. You know, we spoke to him before. He said, if you're not going to do something 100%, why do it at all? And he came and he brought more than 100% this time around. He just played a phenomenal set there. 2-0 victory to take home the World Championship title.
Yeah, and Emilio gave it a really great fight as well, but I think Paul managed the position so smartly, especially with that Mega Gengar. You know, he never necessarily knocked out that Gengar with one big attack like that Z move, but first going for that Z move, so it had some chip damage. That critical hit, of course, helped out a lot in the beginning of that game, but then going for the Snarls, and of course knowing that Snarl would go through that substitute, adding up so much there, and that made it a lot easier to deal with the Gengar, because Gengar is quite difficult to take care of when you combine it with substitute and its fast speed. But Paul came once again prepared and just incredibly done.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a phenomenal set from both players. It was just such a fun sort of back and forth, a lot of positioning. That second game especially, Emilio, it really just felt like he was dancing around Paul for a while, but then it just took one moment for Paul to be able to blow open that trap. That's sort of the weakness of these Perish Trap teams. If you start losing pieces, then the whole plan starts falling apart, and that's exactly what happened in that second game.
Yeah, and now we have a new region, you know, Latin America, that can finally call themselves a world champion. Of course, Paul Ruiz from Ecuador specifically, really taking that region all the way to the top. Truly, truly incredible. And I mean, I know he really cares about obviously winning the title, not just for himself, but for his entire region. And how special is that?
Yeah, it's so absolutely special for Paul and for the entire region, for the entire continent, for his country of Ecuador. Let's hear what it means to him specifically down on the stage where our new world champion is standing with Anna.
Paul, what is going through your mind right now?
A lot of emotions. To be honest, I'm completely happy about my performance yesterday and today. It was a really great final. I had to think every move because Perish Trap is always difficult to deal with. And I'm so happy. I'm speechless right now. I think this is something the LATAM community has been waiting like forever. And I'm really proud of you guys. You are the best community. We are so close together, even though we're a lot of countries, different people with different customs. But here we are. We are all just like one big country, and I'm really happy that this dream is finally here.
Me too. And these people have been on their feet for the entirety of your match. Could you feel that energy while you were playing?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. They're awesome. Like, even though I try to concentrate in my game, sometimes I had to just see them shouting there, and I felt all the energy and all the good stuff they were doing. So this is for you guys. This is for Ecuador. This is for Latin America. And the dream was real.
Earlier, you tweeted about that your dream before was to make the top 8, and then your dream was to be world champion. How does it feel to be realizing your dream right now?
Well, I think that people that play games or do whatever you want in your life, you have to do it with passion, because otherwise, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. For me, this is the great example to show that. I had a dream last year that was made top 8 and be streamed with my country's flag. And this year I don't have my country's flag because I'm representing all my continent. So it was amazing. And yeah, life is about that. Life is about passion, it's about dreaming, it's about doing what you think is good. And I thought that last year I was so close to the dream, and I came back this year with this in my mind, and thank God I made it. To God be the glory.
I can't think of a better way to end it than that. Congratulations one more time for Paul Ruiz. And don't worry, we will be right back. You will get to see more of Paul and of all of the champions, because we will come back after this break with the award ceremony. See you soon.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2018 Pokemon World Championships in Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, I'm getting a little bit hoarse and I'm getting a little bit teary-eyed after that last match, but it's so exciting to be here in Nashville alongside my good friend Aaron Zhang, where we have just crowned 8 world champions across 3 games, Pokken Tournament DX, Trading Card Game, and the Video Game Championship Series. What an incredible weekend it's been here in Nashville.
It's been exhilarating, and I can't believe it's already come to an end. 3 days of fierce competition among 3 different games and so many different age divisions, but we have truly seen the best play of the best of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. From the Video Game Championships that we just saw conclude, making history with Paul Ruiz being our first Latin American champion in the Video Game Championship Series, from the on the Masters division, from all of the success that we saw in the trading card games, Hito winning that juniors trading card game finals, Magnus Peterson taking down Colin Peterson finally in the finals there to win the World Championship title himself, and of course Robin Schulz taking the Masters trading card game World Championship. Strong play from all of those competitors. And, you know, it's not just the trading card game. It's not just the Pokemon video games. We also saw the Pokken Tournament DX World Championships crowned yesterday with Kato from Japan, and thanks a lot from the United States of America becoming world champions in their own right, alongside our juniors winner, Juan Lee, and our seniors winner in the Video Game Championships, James Evans. 8 new world champions who have been crowned the elitist of the elite amongst across all 3 games that were represented here in Nashville.
Yeah, 8 new world champions from so many different countries of all ages. You know, how exciting that is. And I think what's really funny to me is, you know, the new season kicks off literally in just 2 or 3 weeks, so we get to do it all again and start very, very soon, especially with, on the video game side, the brand new rule sets that were announced yesterday. So I know I myself am very excited to jump into things, and I can't wait to see how this new format shakes things up. But so much fun, and this was definitely a season to look back on.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2018 circuit is one I don't think any competitor here in Nashville will ever forget. And this particular World Championships, I had to say, was one of the most fun that I've had since starting to come to these World Championships. I mean, it helps that it was in my hometown. I'm really glad that Nashville was able to put on a good show for everyone. Just selfishly, personal pride. But also just the level of play that we saw across all age divisions, across all games. Just so much excitement, so much hype throughout the entire weekend, whether it was following the competitive side here on the streams and on the main stage, whether it was trying out the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee demos, whether it was playing side events, Pokemon Stadium 2 mini games, Pokemon Snap was set up over there, the drawing area. There's so much cool stuff here in the venue. There's just something for everyone. And it's really, you know, if you've never come to Worlds, you probably should reconsider.
Yeah, definitely a celebration of Pokemon throughout the entire weekend, whether you're a trading card game, a video game player, a Pokken player, or maybe just a fan who's checking out the entire tournament. So, of course, we want to thank the fans, you guys, for watching back at home and here live at the venue. Definitely a thrilling weekend, and once again, I can't wait to do it all again next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are hankering for even more Pokemon action, well, you can actually, starting soon, watch every single episode of the Pokemon animation coming to Twitch.tv.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's so much Pokemon animation to watch at Twitch.tv/Twitch Presents. That starts on the 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, sharp.
And that actually is tomorrow.
Wow, it's already the 27th or the 26th of August.
It is, yeah, time flies. So if Worlds wasn't enough and you want to get more Pokemon, don't forget to tune in to this incredible marathon. Tons of Pokemon fans will be there, and I know I love the marathons on Twitch in general with all these kinds of different shows.
Yeah.
And games, so
make sure you're there at 10 a.m. so you can see when Ash finally gets that Pikachu.
Oh, spoilers, man, come on.
Oh, he really wanted that Bulbasaur, the Squirtle, or the Charmander. Which one will he ever choose? Shouldn't have slept in. You know, it's the importance of getting a good night's rest and waking up on time when your alarm says you should, not hitting that snooze button.
Absolutely.
but so much action, not just here in the stadium, but outside. You know, the thing about Worlds that makes it totally unique from any other experience that I've had, just the camaraderie, being able to see people from all across the globe converging here because of the shared interest of Pokemon. Everyone here is passionate. You know, we heard that come up so much during Paul's interview after he became a world champion. Every single person in this room is passionate about this game and passionate about the friends that they've made along the way.
Paul's speech, truly one fitting for a champion as deserving as him, and he joins a list of very elite players who have won the World Championships. And once again, how incredible was it to see someone get third at the World Championships and then first the following year? I mean, even back-to-back Top Cup performances already difficult enough. We saw a couple of players who were able to accomplish that in this season and last season. So, I mean, the talent pool in Pokemon, whether it's the video game, the card game, or Pokken, just rises every year. And I'm always incredibly amazed by the level of competition that these competitors are able to bring to the field.
Yeah, and the absolute best thing about this particular tournament is that, you know, we're sort of enmeshed in the video game championships. That's what we follow because that's what we used to play, or in some cases continue to play. But being here at the World Championships, you get to be a part of all of the different parts of the Pokemon community. You know, whether that's sort of the you know, people out there playing Pokemon Go who probably aren't in the stadium right now because there are raids to go participate in and gifts to collect and send out. Or if it's the Pokken Tournament DX people who are, you know, causing a ruckus yesterday and throughout the entire tournament. Or of course the trading card games who shattered attendance records throughout this entire season, showing just how exciting